Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow horror fans. Welcome back to Mojito with Majeeto. And for today's episode, we are joined by Joe Lam, the director, writer, producer of the new horror film, The Fetus, which we'll be all talking about and the horror genre as well, all today. Firstly, how are you, man? How are you feeling after all the fans you accumulated after all the rave that went around this film?
Oh, doing very well, thank you. I'm happy that people are experiencing the movie.
That's really nice to hear. I really enjoyed the film, honestly. It was such a great and fun watch. And as a big fan of 80s horror, it also made me think how did you come up with this unique idea of a concept and story? And what made you want to bring a lot of 80s horror vibes, if that was your intention, and sort of style of filmmaking to modern day?
I really wanted to show something on screen that I hadn't seen before, because a lot of times when you have the main characters and you have this villain that's chasing after them, like there is that separation, right? You trying to escape or fight them off. I say, well, some of my favorite horror movies are the ones where it's body horror. You have like Alien and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing, and it's The Fly, things that are like the enemy is inside of you, the evil entity, right? And it's taking over. But a lot of times it's like pure evil and you don't want it in your body. But I thought, well, what if there was something that was inside? And I thought, well, usually what's inside, it's mostly, you know, babies growing in women. But
Yeah.
instead of just making it pure evil, what if there was a chance that like it could actually turn out to be good, depending on how you deal with it, even though it's still life-threatening. So I wanted to show that, and I'd never seen something just coming out of someone's body and then going back in and it's killing, and then you have that moral dilemma to keep it or not keep it, which plays on the pro-choice, the pro-life debate. And
Yeah.
then in terms of the 80s that you're asking about, is some of my favorite movies from the 80s and the 90s, and the style of the practical effects and the storytelling, where it wasn't trying to have such a heavy-handed message like a lot of movies are today, and they lose the storytelling, they lose the characters and the journey that they go on. So I really wanted to have strong characters for people to follow along, and I think that's why we have reports of fans watching it 3, 5, 9, 17 times, because they love the character journeys that are going through.
And also more so on the filmmaking side, in a world full of a lot of modern movies that look so bland and have that Netflixification, if you know what I mean, with like the coloring and cinematography sometimes. But the cinematography here feels so soulful and genuinely good. Are you aware of how bland a lot of movies can look nowadays, and how well did you try to avoid that?
Yes, I think it's because of the digital age. And because before, I when I started, I shot on film. I shot on 8
Oh,
millimeter, not 8, 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter. I've worked as a cinematographer on some actual film, and then had to edit on flatbeds where you're cutting the actual film by hand and then putting tape on it. And then became the digital, and I started to move into that. But there is a lot more artistry when you're dealing with film, because it's like there's this tangible physical substance, and you want the best image quality. And that stayed with me. But when you have digital, it's kind of like it's just different. It just doesn't feel as real when you
yeah.
have hard drives with the footage on it, and it's just then you can just it's easier to manipulate. But when you're shooting film, you have to be so precise, because it's easy to go too dark or go too bright because of the range of the film and how you're lighting the scene. And you could only do so many takes. When I started in film, we would do a lot of times one, maybe two takes. But when we shot the fetus, we're doing like 5, 6, 7 takes sometimes, because I was like, hey, it's digital, great for performance, but it's you have more leeway, for, I guess, like, I don't know, for messing up, you could say, and
Yeah.
you don't take it as seriously, as precious as film, which is limited when when you like record on that. But I have to say that our cinematographer, he is an instructor at USC. His name is Jeremy Royce, and his work has been nominated for Student Academy Award, Student Emmy. And so, like when I saw his reel out of 200 cinematographers, I said, "Okay, this is the guy. This is the guy I want to work with," because his work, just his lighting and camera work looks so good.
Really interesting. And also the gore and the blood in this film is so well done. Which horror films inspired the practical effects in here?
Oh, The Thing and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Those
Oh,
are my two inspirations because the stories are so wild and wacky and but it's so enjoyable and fun to watch compared to some other movies like when they did The Thing the prequel that came out I don't know how many years ago, 5, 6, 7 years
yeah,
ago. I heard that they had practical monsters, but then at the last minute they switched to all digital, and literally, Mojito, I couldn't even watch the movie. I put it on and I was like, I can't believe what's happening on screen. So I
jarring.
just shut it off. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. I feel the same way sometimes when sometimes horror movies try to experiment with some CGI and it doesn't work well. How do you feel about CGI usage with like blood and that kind of stuff? Do you feel it's helpful sometimes if it's utilized right?
Yeah, it has to be done right. I like the approach where because sometimes we had to use, we had to layer blood onto some of our practical creatures, but
Yeah,
we didn't take CGI blood, which is blood that's like created like 3D models, and then sometimes the lighting doesn't look right, the texturing. We had our visual effects guys would take a blood that was actually filmed like on green screen,
yeah,
remove the green screen, and then apply it onto the layering of the creature. So it's still real world blood in terms of like the fake blood that was filmed practically, and it's just layering over. It's not like a 3D model where it's just they've created in computer. So
yeah.
it's
That is really
blending.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
While watching this also, I got a lot of Evil Dead 2 vibes, like also Evil Dead 2 meets Rosemary's Baby type of vibe. Was that intentional with what you were trying to achieve?
That's interesting you say that because several people have mentioned Evil Dead 2 specifically, and some people said Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
Mm, because I hadn't seen Evil Dead 2 for such a long time, I wasn't focusing on that. It was The Thing and A Nightmare on Elm Street. But Rosemary's Baby, that's more psychological horror, and it has like that really like almost dark creepiness to it. And there is, I think what people see is of course the pregnancy, and they see, there's the demon aspect of it.
yeah,
But ours, The Fetus, is a lot more, horror comedy, is that it has that blend. Again, that almost ridiculousness from the 80s, even, because of course, Nightmare on Elm Street, it's so crazy, right? That it's just like, but you buy into it actually because the characters, the actors are buying into like they're taking it seriously. And that's why to me, I think the film works because of that, even though there's craziness going on. The characters are feeling like the reality of it.
yeah. And also mostly about the characters. How did you go about in the writing process, writing the drama and the relationship aspects? Because it was a little confusing how Alessa sort of eventually brushed off the fact Chris was on dating apps, practically cheating on her. So how did you go about writing that drama and relationship aspect of it all?
Hmm. Well, it's kind of when I try to get into the mind of that character of Alessa, and like her initial reaction, of course, she's upset because she sees that dating app. But at the same time, there is something that emerges from her body when she's in the restroom, and she's like, oh, and she passes out, right?
Yeah,
So she's in a vulnerable state. She's not in a state where she's in full command, she's angry, and she can just storm off. she's passed out on the ground. She needs help, and he
Yeah,
lifts her up and he agrees, like, I'll take you to your father to get help, even though I think you need to go to a hospital instead. So in that moment, she needs help, and that's why she agrees to stick with him.
that makes sense. Speaking of Alessa also, played by Lauren Lavera, I loved her in the Terrifier films. She's always wonderful as well, and she's so great in this role. What made you want to cast Lauren for the role of Alessa in this film?
It was her audition. She sent
Wow.
him an audition tape, and it, there were 7,500 actresses who auditioned for this film, who were submitted. And when her tape came in, it was just, it was so far above. A lot of the actresses were great, right? But she just stood out because she embodied the character right from the beginning. She wasn't trying to figure out who this character was and or ease into it. She was just full blown. Emotions were just pouring out, and it was just so raw. And I said, okay, I mean, I'll go through the rest of the actresses, but I have a feeling that like this is it. We found our Alessa.
You nailed it with that casting for sure.
Hmm.
While watching this, I also got a lot of Sam Raimi and Frank Henenlotter vibes here and there, like with Evil Dead, as I said, but and Basket Case. Um, who's a horror filmmaker or filmmakers that influenced you for this film, and who do you look up to the most, personally?
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's John Carpenter all the way. His work in horror, just even beyond the thing. So
Yeah,
just I've always been a big fan of his. So.
good choice. And after making this film, if you were able to time travel to before you made the film, what is one piece of filmmaking advice you would give to yourself?
Oh my God. I try not to think about that. Okay, there's only one thing I would say is because I spent 20 years just writing screenplays. And in the meantime, I would write short screenplays and then go ahead and film them because my goal was to be a writer director, not just the writer, not just the director. So I did 12 of these short films, and 20 of them I produced. What I would have done sooner is I would have taken a course by my teacher. His name is Corey Mandel. His website is corymandel.net. I tell everybody this who wants to be a screenwriter. I say, take his course because that was the moment where I transitioned and I learned how to create dramatic scenes that would really engage and hold an audience from beginning all the way to the end. Because before then, the short films that I did, it doesn't fully connect with an audience. And it
Mhm.
took a lot of time to figure that out. And he broke the mold for me. And I can take that and apply it to any movie I'm going to make.
Yeah. And as for a lot of horror movies from back then, do also have to tend to have some annoying aspects. Do you personally have any pet peeves regarding the horror genre?
Oh, of course.
What are
There's a
some of
lot of
them?
them. Well, I mean, if there's a weak story where the characters are just there to be killed off, you're just
Yeah.
using characters for the most creative kills or just to create suspense. But if we don't know anything about the characters to make us care about them, what is their trauma? What are their wants, their needs, their relationships to other people? If we don't know any of that, then I'll watch a movie and I'm just like, I'll just forget about it. So it just feels like I just wasted my time, So
Personally,
that's a big pet peeve of mine.
personally, a pet peeve of mine for like horror movie wise, would be the easiest choice that I could pick is like back in the 80s, they'd always have these cop characters or the usual characters who doesn't believe the main character and then they eventually get themselves killed. That one always gets me. And as we're about to reach near the end, do you have any fiery hot takes regarding the horror movie genre or horror movies in general?
My hot takes. I'm getting tired of the remakes and sequels that don't create anything new and original. That are just, hey, let's take this IP, intellectual property that did well before, and just sell it again to this new generation. But I'm fine with that if you expand on it and you create something fresh and original and it takes it further. But if it's just the rehash of the same as before, what's the point?
Yeah,
Because to me, yeah, money is important. Like to make a movie and to sell it, to make the money back, yes, that's very important. But for me and everybody else, we're here for a short time on this earth. And I would rather leave something behind that people will watch for 100 years and enjoy versus just do a cash grab, make the money now for myself and whoever else is involved. And then that film never gets watched anymore. It's just people, it just gets discarded.
yeah.
So I think in the long term, how is this going to affect people, not just today, but 100 or more years from now? Will people continue to watch films that I make?
I totally agree with you. But then again, do you have any like favorite remakes of any sort?
Yes,
Horror wise?
I do. I do. When it's done right, then it is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the one from I think 1978. That's with the Jeff Goldblum. Um, then there's The Thing, the John
Yeah.
Carpenter's Thing, right? That's a remake. Okay. I'm sure there's a few other ones, but I'm not drawing them to mind right now.
There's even the Evil Dead one and the Friday the 13th one. I honestly prefer the Friday the 13th remake over the original one, funny enough. That is my own
Mm.
hot take. But yeah, last but not least, what does the horror genre mean to you?
Wow. The horror the horror genre means to me, it's the fans. The number one reason why I made The Fetus is for the fans. I didn't make it for myself. I know that sounds strange, but for me, it's because I saw something and I could just let that
Yeah,
just that's fine. Like, right? I'm enjoying it. I'm like, wow, what a cool story. But because it's such a cool story, and then it just grabbed me and wouldn't let me go, I wanted to share it with the world. And that's why I spent years just making this movie and then putting it out there. And we'll continue to pretty much spend the rest of my life just keep to promote this movie. And so as a result, I have to thank you, Mojito, for doing this podcast and having me on because independent filmmakers, we need people with their own voices to amplify
yeah.
our films to get the word out because we don't have big marketing budgets like the studios. And I don't think the studios want films like this, which can push the boundaries and sometimes turn people off. I've had people at conventions look at our trailers and they're like, "Ooh," they see the fetus coming out of the woman and they're just like,
Yeah,
I can't even watch it," So, but it's stuff like that that's pushing the boundaries that excites me than like cookie cutter horror stuff. But it comes down to the fans, like I said, the horror fans. Yeah.
I would surely love to see more of your work with a bigger budget and all of that. And I thank you for joining me on Mojito with Mojito. It's such a lovely honor to have you. And that's it for episode 12 of Mojito with Mojito. Joe, do you have anything to say to the horror fans in the Middle East?
I will say you can go to our website to learn more about the fetus. Just go to thefetusfilm.com and you'll see everything there. And we have offers of where you can watch it. It's not distributed in every country yet, but you can also get a book. I'll show you right here. This is a making of book that I wrote. the entire journey of making the movie. It's called Delivering the Fetus. Your fans can go to thefetusfilm.com for that and other merchandise like shirts. I have posters and t-shirts,
Very
that we got
cool.
there. So okay,
So yeah,
international shipping, international too. So okay.
be sure to check out the fetus and make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.
And I
Yeah.
like your background, by the way. You
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah. I got
a
a
whole
lot
lot of
of
stuff back there.
horror. There's even
Yeah,
like Evil
great.
Dead stuff over there.
That's great. Yeah, you got Chucky.
Yeah.
Got
And yeah, I
Pennywise.
like I like your background as well. You got the fetus posters and something like that. I
Oh yeah.
definitely got to order the book as well.
I gotta adjust that poster. I gotta move that poster so I'm not blocking it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would
That's
be
our
smart.
music video poster. We did a
Oh,
music video, right?
for the film.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I heard of something like that, but wow, that is really cool. I love seeing very innovative ways to implement horror. How did you guys do the music video, if you don't mind me asking?
Somebody watched the film early on and he loved it so much that he wrote a song and he's like, are you okay with this? I'm like, yeah, the song is great. And he's like, well, they wanted to do music video, so we helped fund the music video and then just did it. So
Wow,
yeah, and then like Bloody Disgusting promoted it for us. It was,
really cool.
some press. Yeah, so it was nice. Yeah. So
Well, yeah, thank you for joining us today for Mojito with Mojito, and I'm so glad. I'm a big horror fan, as you can see, and
yeah.
yeah, hope we could do this sometime. For if you have any other films you're gonna work on in the future, and yeah, don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'll talk to you next time, man.